I'm sure everyone that clicked on this video has played Five Nights at Freddy's before, but have you ever played it twice? Now that might sound like the dumbest thing you've ever heard, but I mean 2 separate offices, 4 different doors, and a total of 8 animatronics all coming for you at the exact same time. Knowing that context, I'm gonna assume it's probably a no. To me, this challenge bumps up the difficulty over 50 times the original, considering 420 isn't that hard. But still, only good aim and attention mixed with a bit of luck will even allow you the chance to beat the final challenge. FNaF 420 twice at the same time. While I know this challenge is going to be pretty difficult, Five Nights at Freddy's hasn't ever really been considered that difficult of a game in the first place. Well, maybe back in like 2014, but not anymore, and that's for a few reasons. I'm not going to waste the next 10 minutes explaining how it works. I'd imagine most people already know. This game's almost 11 years old. Firstly, the games are insanely easy to learn. The strategies for beating them are extremely straightforward. Another reason are the quote-unquote mechanics that are used to stall animatronics, which make the game so much easier. Use the doors for Chica and Bonnie and the cams for Freddy and Foxy, and boom, you just beat 420 mode, gained your 3rd star, and optionally 40 million views. Obviously there's a bit more to it than that, but we'll get to that later on. While for most of the nights you could just waltz your way through with very basic knowledge, for our challenge we're gonna need a lot more than just that. If you'd like an explanation of how to set up the games just like mine, let me know in the comments, but having the game set up correctly is very important. For instance, even if you're clicked into another window, you can still do things such as flip up the cameras or click on any of the buttons. With that being said, let's start the first night. Here we are, and the goal is to figure out if it's possible to beat Five Nights at Freddy's twice at the exact same time. I 100% doubt I'm going to be able to do it today, but we're still going to try. Also, I have a hand cam now. My setup was a little scuffed to begin with, but it'll be fixed soon, don't worry. At this point in time, I had no idea just how difficult it would be, as I quite literally did no practice beforehand. I kind of assumed that it would be the same as just doing 420, but faster. I may have been a bit too ahead of myself, but it'll be fine. So yeah, this first night is gonna be pretty easy. Literally nobody moves, and if they do move, they're definitely not making it to the door. As expected, night 1 was kind of free. I just sat and watched the cameras most of the night, and a lot of the time I didn't even have my hand on the mouse. Oh, Bonnie moved. There he is. Oh, I didn't think he'd actually show up. Now Bonnie's here on this one. With a visit from Bonnie on both of the games and absolutely nothing else, we beat the first night on our first try. Oh, there's 1. There's 2. First try, kinda easy. Night 2 is still decently easy for the average player, but playing it twice at once is obviously going to come with its challenges. Off rip, both Foxys were a lot more aggressive. Game 2 was looking decent, but in Game 1, Foxy was already on his last stage and we had only gone through 8% of our power. This strategy I was using was basically the same as the normal 420 strat everyone uses, but I'm doing it on 2 different instances. The fact I was doing it on 2 different instances though, meant that there was quite a bit of room in between camera flips on each game, as when I was done with one, I would have to click into the other, check the lights, flip the cameras, then switch back. Just for some context, every 5 seconds, Foxy has a chance to progress to his next stage depending on his AI level. Each time you open and close the cameras, it stalls him for anywhere between 1 and 17 seconds. The cycle I was going through for the games takes around 7 to 8 seconds to fully clear all 4 doors and flip up the cameras on each game, meaning I was cutting it close many times and relying on luck on the times I didn't flip the cameras fast enough. Though it was only night 2 and I only ever had 1 interaction with Foxy, this is something we're gonna have to keep in mind for later on. Right now though, I was locked in. I guess I was just so locked in, I didn't say a single thing after 1 AM and made it past night 2 first try. I was barreling through these nights. I honestly wasn't even worried about night 3. Besides a few fuck-ups from my setup being so scuffed, this night was going very easy. I didn't get anyone showing up until around 4 AM, and by that time I had already saved up so much power, I was more than fine. I was incredibly lucky with having just about no one show up during most of the night, and luck is something that we're gonna especially need later on. Surely this would keep up. I started night 4 like usual, not saying a single word for some reason. Unlike night 3 though, this night wouldn't be just as easy. Fast forward to 3 AM and I'm not in too bad of a spot. Not many animatronics have been coming to my door, and if so, there's never usually more than one at any given time. Foxy wasn't much of an issue this night either, and I have Freddy in the right hull corner, prime position for stalling. All I need to do is keep this up, be as quick as I can with these cycles so Foxy doesn't show up, and we're pretty much done. Bruh. That 8-second cycle time was starting to bite me, but not in the way I thought. I thought Foxy would be the biggest issue, but I completely forgot how quickly the animatronics can jam the doors if they just happen to catch you at the wrong time. You can see the animatronics all have somewhat similar movement intervals, meaning that it takes about the same time for Foxy to progress to his next stage as it would for Bonnie or Chica to jam my doors. Meaning my 8-second cycle time was basically a death sentence if I got unlucky or carried away with dealing with something else, which is exactly what happened here. There's Foxy. Well, we had a streak going there. My second attempt went pretty much the same. Cycle time took too long, got unlucky, and... third attempt. That fourth attempt though? Alright, this attempt, things were going pretty good. If we skip through a bit, we're at pretty good pace with power, a decent way through 3 AM. My cycles aren't perfect, but they're good enough. At least that's what I thought, until I stopped Cove watching Foxy, and immediately he sprinted to my door. Dude. Remember how I got the first 3 nights done on my very first try? Well, by this point, night 4 has already taken us twice as long as it did to beat the first 3 nights combined, and we're still dying consistently. We really need to lock in. Please. Oh my god. So just under an hour. It took us a total of 50 minutes to complete night 4. If you do the math, we have so far been going for an hour and a half and have just now reached... Night 5 was absolutely kicking my ass already. It's not that I was making any specific mistake, it just seemed like I was either too slow or had bad RNG. I was starting to get pretty frustrated, so I took my advice from the last challenge and decided to stop here and come back tomorrow. So far though, we are an entire day in and have yet to beat night 5. At this pace, it's probably gonna take me 3 to 4 days. On the next day, I was extremely dedicated to completing this challenge, or at the very least, night 5. Even in my first attempt of the day, I was showing I was more than capable of doing so. The only reason I died on my first attempt at nearly 5 AM was because I flipped up the camera while Bonnie was outside my door while I was looking at the other game. Other than small mistakes like that, I wasn't playing bad at all. Not long into the day's attempts, I started to really get the hang of things. Somehow my jank-ass strategy of just trying to be faster than the funny pizza robots is working. We just barely made it to 6 AM on night 5, completing the game and awarding us with $120. And now this is where things really start to amp up. These next 2 nights are going to be unlike anything we've played so far. If I was just barely scraping by the last 2 nights, taking almost an hour to complete them, I don't even want to think about how long night 6 or even 420 will take. What's good? It may or may not be the next day again, but that does not matter. What does matter is getting through the 6th night, which is something we're gonna do. Let's start this timer and get in. Regardless of my performance on night 5 and whatever confidence that gave me, there was still a glaring issue that needed to be addressed. See, one of the main reasons I keep dying is to the door getting jammed by animatronics more than anything else. The reason this happens is because that cycle time I briefly mentioned earlier. I knew there was something I could do to lower the time it takes for me to check the doors while still being able to flip up the cameras often enough to not even need to worry about Foxy more than maybe once a night. Okay, honestly, I feel like there's something I'm missing that I can use, because there's no way that they're just quick enough to where if I do one extra thing before checking the door, that is just completely over. I gathered absolutely nothing, but I did think of a new strategy which I will try out right now, and if it works you'll see it in the video, and if not, you're never seeing this ever. So I decided to do some more research on how the characters work to possibly figure out some sort of plan or take advantage of some sort of flaw in the way the animatronics work. I didn't quite explain it well in the recording, so I'll go over it real quick. So you know how the door animatronics are the reason for most of my deaths? I figured out a way to not only cut out the time it takes between checking the doors, but also the efficiency in which I can check the cameras. Now, instead of the old strategy I was using of just playing the game as if you were in 2 separate offices, I now think of them as one big office with 4 doors and only 1 camera. And you might be wondering, how exactly do you do this? Well, basically, instead of clearing one game by checking the left door and then the right door, then flipping up the cameras before switching to the next game, I'll check the 2 doors in one game, switch over to the next game, and to use the camera as one, I take advantage of this little area in between the games where they overlap. I can flick my mouse down there to open up both of the cameras on the games at the same time. No matter if you're clicked into the window of the game, all inputs will still register, including the position of the mouse. Now we can make sure each door is cleared on both sides before flipping up the cameras, which will greatly increase our consistency in dodging attacks. This new strategy was still a little scuffed and needed some more work, but for now it was already showing us some big improvements. Off the bat, on the very first try using the strategy, we made it to almost 5 AM at a very decent pace to win. The only reason I died was because I still needed more practice with it. We got so far though. And as I said, this strategy would consistently get us pretty far too. There were countless runs afterwards that made it to 5 AM. No! Dude, I'm so... Bro, I didn't want to win. I'm pretty sure on average I die around 3 to 4 AM most of the time, which is pretty good, better than the 1 to 2 AM we were hitting before. Despite the upgrade in our strategy, we were still losing run after run, and after nearly 2.5 hours straight of trying night 6, I finally gave up for the night. Throughout the day, I brainstormed ideas on how I could optimize my time even better, a way I can check the cameras quicker and keep track of the animatronics without having to take so long to check each door. And it wasn't too long until I was able to identify even more weak points in my strategy. Let me, from the video, tell you about it. The grind never stops, we're here again. Throughout the day, I've been thinking of what I could change to make the cycle quicker, to where we don't have the animatronics jamming our doors every like 2 seconds. If you're playing, obviously, Freddy, his last position before being inside your office is the right hall corner, and you're gonna need your camera in the right hall corner. Who also goes in the right hall corner? Chica. Now, if off rip, we just put our camera into the right hall corner and use that to monitor when Chica enters the door instead of having to use the lights, we can knock out Foxy, Freddy, and monitoring Chica all with just the cameras. The only thing I need to do different is just memorize when Chica is in and leaving the corner, because sometimes she will just go into the corner and then go right back out. But yeah, that's what we're gonna try, so first try. And if you thought that last strategy was a bit of a step up, including getting to nearly 5 AM on my first try, this was more a whole story above that. This was almost as perfect as the strategy for doing the skits. And since it was only night 6, it wasn't as hard to deal with Bonnie and Chica. With all that time freed up by not having to check a whole other door, as well as flipping up a second camera, Foxy only hit my door maybe a single time. Oh my god. Holy shit. Dude, first try today, my hands were sweating so hard. That was like, what, 3 hours of just playing night 6? Somehow, I had actually been able to beat night 6 on my very first try using this strategy. If only I had figured this out earlier, I could have saved like 4 hours, but that doesn't matter. Because now I was up against the final boss of this challenge, the achievement we had been working towards only 1 step away. The strategy I was using was almost as optimized as it could possibly get. If this didn't work out, there was nothing we could possibly do. About to get even worse. Off the bat, it wasn't looking very good, due to many different reasons, such as being too greedy with power, and just generally not playing fast enough. I was averaging deaths at around only 1 AM, a lot of the time not even being able to defend a single Foxy attack. After nearly half an hour of this, I had enough and took a little break, only to come back and play 1 game before giving up for the day. Sadly, this is where the challenge slowed down a ton. Many of the days I spent on the challenge looked like that. I slowly stopped putting as much time into completing this challenge, challenge. It got to a point where I completely put this video on hold to complete the FNaF Lost Media iceberg because I simply didn't think I would complete this soon enough. On top of that, I was just generally losing motivation to do this. As I said though, in the meantime I was working on that last video, and the support on that last video was absolutely insane. After taking some time to relax, plan out more videos, generally live life, I decided to make a Discord server to start interacting with people. Though there weren't many that joined, the ones I got to talk to made me really appreciate everyone who has been here showing support. It helped me to remember that on top of just wanting to beat this challenge, I wanted to continue making these videos that people had come here for. So I finally closed out of Counter-Strike and got back to it. We are finally back. It's been like at least 2 weeks since the last couple attempts, but we're finally here, we're finally back, and so let's hop in and get started. Whether or not you can tell from my voice, I was very eager to get this challenge done, but no amount of normal 420 could prepare you for just how strict, precise, and lucky you need to be to beat this challenge. On our first day back, 420 was already starting to show its difficulty. After over an hour of attempts, our personal best was just barely into 2 a.m. But with practice comes progress, and soon enough we started getting close. Holy shit. Holy sh... That right there was the luck we needed. A free Foxy hit without having to close anything or switch any of the cameras. If we play this perfectly, it might be enough. Dude, it's 5 a.m. There's one. Please give me this. Please give me this. No. There's no... Dude, how close was I? Oh my god. Somehow, even when the win was laid right in front of me, I somehow still managed to mess it up and die less than 30 seconds before the end of the night. The worst part is, I could have easily saved that time if I didn't immediately panic and close everything once Foxy hit. God damn. If I didn't have those doors closed like all night, cause I was like worried about messing up, I would have done that. Surprisingly, I somehow didn't just quit the challenge for another 2 weeks. I went right back to chipping away at it. All of this work was showing almost immediately, as over and over and over again, we would reach 2, 3, even 4 a.m. very consistently. This challenge was seeming more possible with each attempt. I would end off this day averaging deaths around 3 a.m. We were clearly making a lot of progress. Now it was just up to if I could keep that momentum going. Alright, so we are back. And after all of this time, I finally figured out I can actually make the layout in OBS so it doesn't look like dog shit. We are back though. That means the grind never stops. And back we were. No matter how many times I get to 5 a.m. and die, I was still just as determined to get through. So far, we are over 7 hours total of runs into this challenge. 7 hours of just playing 420 mode. And all of that time sunk into it was about to pay off. Oh my god! Yes! Oh my god! Dude. 3 stars. This was so much harder than the Flumpty Gauntlet, dude. I actually could not believe it when I saw the 6 a.m. pop up on the first game. I thought it was so over. Foxy. I appreciate you all for watching, and especially all of the support on the videos. It's beyond what I ever expected, and I'm super grateful for everyone who's been enjoying. I do want to announce, like I said, I made a Discord, so if you want to come in and talk to me or just other FNaF fans, I would definitely recommend joining. Along with that, I enabled channel memberships. These are very much so optional. All you do is get a special role inside the Discord, and possibly shoutouts at the end of the video, though I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that yet. Thanks for watching, and if you do want to see more FNaF challenges, you can check out the One Night at Flumpty's Gauntlet I did last time. And if you have any suggestions for challenges I can do next time, definitely leave it in the comments. Alright, see ya.